Hey, welcome to the Big Bluecast. Today is Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving 2020. Good deal of stuff going on in the world of UK sports right now. Being it that we're kind of at the end, towards the end of football season, and we just kicked off basketball season this past Wednesday night. Yeah, let's start with the not so positive stuff first, and then we'll move on. Um,
Yeah.
that Alabama game. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I mean, I think Nick Saban said it best at halftime. We couldn't stop them in the first quarter, and then the second quarter came out, and we didn't have to make any adjustments because they went away from what they were doing, and
Yep,
we had no problem stopping what they were doing after that, and they never went back to it. So,
pretty much.
pretty simple.
Yeah, just ugly across the board. I mean, I know our team's dealing with kind of injury slash COVID issues right now, so we're down like a lot of guys, a lot of starters. But at the same time, like, do you agree with the kind of consensus like criticism that despite us being down like a handful of guys, and even though it is Alabama, like we should be past the point where we're getting beat 63-3. um,
Yes.
because I mean,
Let's put it this way:
like
if we would have continued to do what we were doing, even if we did bumble it in the red zone, time and time again, it
over
wouldn't
and
have
over.
been a
Oh,
blowout. Because it would have been really simple. All Bama, we would have maintained dominance of the clock. Bama would have scored each time. We would have screwed up each time.
mhm.
But by keeping dominating time of possession,
That would have canceled a lot of
that
that
would have
out.
canceled a lot of that out. But
Ton.
when the offense can't stay on the field, you cannot expect our defense to be able to hold the line for an entire game against Bama's offense. I mean, they got
Against those
fresh
guys
guys that's just as good as the
constantly.
guys that came off the field.
Yeah, I mean, just rolling, and yeah, it's really disappointing.
And anybody
Um,
mad at Nick Saban for running the score up, don't be mad
it's
at
not his
him.
fault.
It's not his fault.
Like
I mean, our offense couldn't do nothing, and
he was he was
that's on
doing the
Eddie Gran
typical. Yeah, I mean, he was doing the typical
or
like
Stoops.
you know moving a lot of guys in and out, letting a lot of guys that don't get to play against top competition, get some time in there, and even still, like we said, that would be reflected a lot in kind of your quarter by quarter score margins and everything. Really, like they just kind of were off to the races at the start of the game and never slowed down. And like I said, it wasn't their fault. It was very frustrating to
Like I said,
watch.
that game there is on the coaching staff. At some point, you got to blame Stoops
Yeah,
as well for not telling Eddie Gran to go back to it, or if he told Gran to go to it, then I mean, like the
then
pick
you
six.
got
I
a
mean, that was
problem.
obvious. I mean, all Alabama had to do was, oh, they're going to throw a
There it
slant,
is
so the safety's going to cheat up, and
again.
as soon as he makes the slant, he's going to intercept it, and he did, and there was nobody back there to catch him.
Nope. I
So
mean, nope,
I don't
not one
understand
bit.
it. Terry Wilson, through his entire career, has not been good at slants.
No.
So why do you
As
keep going to them?
as much as they go to that, and it just doesn't work. And especially when you've got another quarterback that maybe you could throw in there and him actually do better if that's just what you're hell bent on sticking to. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, really, are there really like any positives to take away from that whole mess, or is it really just kind of one big blunder for of a game?
It was kind of a blunder of a game in my
I mean,
book, and like I said, I know the players had a lot in their minds. I know the coaching staff had a lot in their minds, but at the
I
same
mean,
time, when you come out and you're changing it up and you're doing all this stuff, and it's like, oh, this is working. It's keeping them confused. Eddie
yeah,
Grant has been notorious for this his entire tenure here at Kentucky. He goes away from
yeah,
it. He'll never go back to the same play again that was successful. Whenever he
right,
does decide that he's going to run a set of plays, it's the ones that don't work.
yeah, because he's just determined like this is what works and just doesn't deviate from that. I
No,
don't know.
and to me, I think Saban was throwing Stoops a line like, "Hey,
Here,
hint, hint, go back to doing what you were doing, and maybe we won't be blowing you out as bad." And yet we didn't do that.
yeah. I mean, like I said, like
And then for anybody saying that, oh, Bo Allen or Gatewood, it's like
that's just not even the
you.
problem though.
First of all, only thing you did was run it the entire time Gatewood was in,
Yeah,
and when you did give him a pass play, it was a slant.
It's like,
Yeah, he can complete the slants. He can throw something downfield. Alabama's defense was so pushed up towards the line because they weren't worried about the deep ball because we weren't going to
no,
throw it.
no, not at all. Nothing else. We might throw a slant or we're running right up the middle, and they're going to stop it. So, I, yeah, I mean, a lot of times like that is a valid argument. Oh, this quarterback or that quarterback. Why isn't this guy like? There's so much more going wrong than all that. I mean, you can make the argument they should have tried somebody else or whatever, but there's a whole lot of other stuff to fix as far as that goes. Just trouble across the board. That's why like any sort of like individual good play from any different guys of ours, like it's just kind of overshadowed by how bad the whole thing was. Like it doesn't really matter. It's
No,
just bad.
that was terrible.
Like we're already seeing, like we've already got one guy. I mean, I don't know if you can directly correlate, this is why that happened, but just yesterday or the day before, there was a guy that, one of our like 3 or 4 really good wide receiver recruits that were supposed to be really, really good coming in next year. He's decommitted. So here we are. Like we're underperforming. You get blown out 63 to 3 points. I mean, we were almost completely shut out, if not for just getting lucky and getting a field goal. And if we hadn't gotten that, like that would have been just sorry, no excuses. Like 63-0 would have been
Yeah. and
not
then
much worse. But
and then the
still,
offense was also making some boneheaded plays as well.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, one of them you could argue cost us a touchdown. We don't know that for a fact, but
But
you can make the argument that we could have scored a touchdown on that drive. But
yeah, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. Oh well.
yeah, bad snaps. That's on the players.
Oh gosh, like just
We had 2
snapping
not
the
top 5 plays.
like snapping the ball to the upper deck. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, and then you
Really?
wonder why we get decommitments.
Everything else we have going on in this game that's not going right now, and we can't even snap the ball to the placeholder. Like as soon as that happened, I was just like, well, there's no salvaging this thing. Like that pretty much did it for me. It's like they're not going to turn this thing around and at least make it like respectable. It's just going to end bad. Um, yeah, and it's not much more optimistic looking forward because I guess we're still on for tomorrow. They've talked like the guys have left on the plane and they're headed down to Florida, so we get to play Florida tomorrow. That's going to be so much fun. Um, like looking ahead now, we've got 2 games left. We get Florida and then South Carolina in the final game of the regular season. Starting with Florida, like what would you say tomorrow your prediction is for how that game's going to go?
Ugly. First of all, we're short 10 staff members. We're short 18 players that we know of.
That's a lot.
It could be more.
Yeah,
And then
or just increased by then. I mean,
now the only saving grace to that one is Florida does not have near as good a defense as what Bama did.
yeah.
I mean, Florida's defense hasn't ranked very good all year, but their quarterback Trask there is pretty good at putting up the numbers on the board pretty quick when he needs to.
It's just a whole body of work. Like they're a good team. Like, they're no joke.
Their offense is excellent.
Yeah.
Our defense is good when everybody's there.
Yeah.
I don't know what players are missing, so that's going
At
to
this
determine
point,
a
just
lot.
kind of ebb and flow.
Yeah, that's going to determine a lot of what we do defensively. But once again, if our offense doesn't take advantage of a weaker defense, then it's going to be hard for us to sit there and compete with Florida because they're going to score and they're going to score quick. It very well could be another 60-point blowout.
And yeah, like especially early on, if they're going to just go for it and try to whiff us, like we need to try to stay ahead of that stuff as much as possible. Because I mean, that's the last thing we need is 2 weeks like that back to back, and then really all you've got left is South Carolina and I guess a bowl game. Depending, like I don't know.
Vince Merrill's going to have his work cut out for him this offseason on recruiting.
Seriously, I mean, if this is how it's going to go, if the trajectory for the rest of this year is going to be what most people think it is right now, the way it's looking, yeah, he's going to have a lot of damage control to go do. It's going to be really difficult. And we're already seeing that. Like I think, especially if we lose tomorrow and it is that ugly again, I think you're going to start to see a nice little current of decommitments coming and people backing
honestly,
up.
I think they'd be better off to sit there and say, hey, we're down to me in personnel.
Yeah.
We're, due to COVID-related issues, we are going to postpone or cancel this game.
Yeah, postpone or cancel, get those guys like just quarantined and healthy, fix any injury issues, hopefully, if possible, and then just move to the South Carolina game. Hopefully, win that, get the bad taste out of everybody's mouth, see what the bowl game situations are going to be like, and see if they try to make up the Florida game. If not,
Oh
whatever, we
well.
probably would have lost anyway. So,
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
well.
oh well, yeah. I mean, boo hoo, we canceled instead of getting crushed. So, yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, as far as the future of the program and for like next year, it would do us a favor to be. I mean, especially when you're down that many staff members and that many players, it's like that's. I feel like there's been other teams that have canceled for less this year, so
Yeah. Totally.
I don't know. Yeah, hopefully they can pull something together for that South Carolina game and at least like end the season on a higher note. Um, last games typically, hopefully just to give people something a little better to remember going into just some of the postseason kind of stuff. And said, I have no idea how all this bowl game stuff's going to work out this year since pretty much everybody's eligible. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I hate to be that person that's like, oh, football's doing terrible, basketball's here. So, but kind of is what it is. Like,
Speaking of basketball,
yeah,
um, let's get
right.
more positive news here. Enough dwelling on the
Absolutely. Yeah. Moving on from
inevitable
that,
tomorrow at noon.
yeah, this past Wednesday night, we kicked off against Morehead State, like almost doubled them up. Looked really good. I thought pretty much throughout the whole game. I was really like, just kind of initial thoughts. Like, how did you feel like getting to look at those guys for the first time? Bearing in mind, like, it's a pretty unique situation, like even for Cal teams to have 10 or 11 guys playing, and we've never seen one of them play for Kentucky before, ever.
Yeah, I thought they played
um,
really well together. I thought they meshed really well. Only seen a little bit of ball hogging, but
yeah,
not too bad considering how early it is. Perfectly acceptable.
yeah,
And typically, this point
like
of the season, Cal's teams play down to the opponent's level, and this time
right.
here they did not. They came out and played to their ability the entire game, as far as I could tell. And if they were holding back, look out everybody else because that was an
I
impressive
mean,
performance.
if that's the starting point and we still have plenty of room to grow from there, then yeah, sky's the limit. It's hard telling what they're going to be capable of. Yeah, I mean, like even like you said, stuff where guys are kind of holding on to the ball. Like I wouldn't really even think of it really like ball hogging until we're several games in and like they should know better. But especially a lot of times like in this first or second game or so when they're just trying to kind of get the system figured out against opponents and see what's going on. I expected more of like guys holding on to the ball, just trying to figure out what they need to be doing and everything. But I was like thoroughly impressed with how they were. They all seemed in sync with each other. Really, I mean, for maybe like a minute, Devin Askew looked like he was just kind of going a mile a minute, a little too excited, but like not bad. I mean, we've seen a lot worse as far as that goes in early season stuff. Um, you know, and people obviously there's going to be those UK fans that are, oh, but it's Moorhead, so blah blah blah. Like, let's bear in mind, everybody, we lost to Evansville
Yeah,
last
and
year
also the fact that
after,
I think we practiced a little bit at Rep Arena because Cal
yeah,
wanted the guys to be used to playing in a big arena with no atmosphere,
with nobody around, which I'm
and
sure
I
is
think that's
weird.
shown as well.
Yeah,
Because let's face it, every home game we're kind of at a disadvantage because the opposing team has came and practiced on at Rupp, and we've been
just
at Memorial shooting on different rims, and then we come into
yeah,
Rupp and it shows.
yeah,
So shooting performance, I was really happy with. If they can keep that level of
right.
shooting up, I will be tickled to death.
Well, the fact that they had the number of guys they had that show that they definitely have the potential to be very capable shooters. Like I thought Mintz was really impressive in that regard. I was really happy to see a guy like Cameron Fletcher come out. And you don't hear anything about him during the preseason because people figure he's just going to be this like 2 or 3 year player, role player kind of guy that comes off the bench in spurts, kind of like a Marcus Lee guy. And yeah, he comes out and basically earns a whole bunch of time in that game, like hits a three, like does some other good stuff. Really good, just hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Like was all over the place. Um, I was super impressed with him. It's like, well, okay, we've got like 8, 9, 10 guys that can play really well right now. Keel Brick's isn't even out there yet, so
Yeah, other than Sar having a few getting in foul trouble. First half,
yeah,
I still thought he looked good in the first half, minus the foul trouble.
yeah,
Second half, wow,
yeah.
that's
I
a
mean, just turned it on.
huge addition for this team.
Huge. Like you said, like to be able to kind of start out kind of sluggish like that, had a good presence on the floor, but wasn't doing a ton. You know, it wasn't bad, but then you got the foul trouble. But to be able to kind of just shake that off and come in, like score 8 points straight and just get rolling, like it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, Brooks has got a lot of
Yeah,
potential, but he's got to learn to rein it in a little bit, be a little bit less of a ball hog. If you're going to be running the floor, this isn't high school.
yeah.
This isn't all about, well, I'm going to take every guy here one on one and go to the basket. Um,
Who's that?
Brooks.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I thought, what do you think of Devin Askew? Like in the general, like, because I wasn't sure what to expect from him because he's not as like highly rated as some of these other
Mm-hmm.
guys. They've talked about how he kind of just has like a Tyler Eulis kind of grit to him, in a way, but maybe he's just not as like talented as some of his cohorts out there. I thought he showed out pretty
Mm-hmm.
well, all things considered. Because I mean, that'd be really hard to be like none of these guys have played together. It's not like he's a point guard coming in. At least like 3 or 4 of these guys have played for UK, know the system, know where to be. I mean, he's just coming in kind of blind and just going. And yeah, I thought those 2 point guards looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely lived up to the hype they were getting. Um, yeah, I don't. With BJ Boston and Terrence Clark out there, I'm not sure what some of these other teams are really going to do as far as like trying to stop them from getting to the basket.
No. And who's the boy from Lexington there?
From
Or from
Lexington.
Kentucky? He looked pretty good. I
Um,
cannot think of his.
Clark,
Yes.
Terrence Clark pretty much seemed like he was putting up just kind of a steady stream of if I decide I'm going to go to the basket, like they're either going to foul the crap out of me or I'm just going to blow by him
Yeah, I'm
because
still trying to
he's
learn all
just
the
too
players'
tall.
names and stuff.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, God, here we go again.
yeah. And BJ Boston, I didn't realize like at the end of the game they showed like he'd scored in double figures. And I was like, really? I mean, he did a lot of good stuff. He got some good rebounding in everything. You could tell he scored. And it was like, well, I mean, he's just already really good at getting easy baskets.
What did he
You
average?
know,
42 points a game in high school?
are you talking about Dante
Dante
Allen?
Allen, yeah, that's what I was talking about, yeah.
Okay, okay, I got you. Yeah, because once they put him in, I was like, okay, let's see really like what he's got, especially out there with some of these other guys. And I mean, he looked capable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, had a really nice shot. Really like I don't remember him really taking one shot, even the ones he didn't make that didn't look good. I mean, they were good shots. It just in and out, and that's just kind of how it went. But
Yeah.
no, just like errantly bad ones. Really, the only guy that I thought at times looked kind of just out of sorts at all was Jacob Toppin, but he was also just kind of the big spark plug, crazy jumping guy that's just going up and altering shots. I
Yeah,
mean,
he did a lot of that.
yeah, did a ton of that, but it's like like he's still when he's in, like you didn't feel like, oh, we got to just yank this guy and get him out of here because he's killing us.
Kind of
So
reminds me of like a early career Dakari Johnson.
kind
Good at,
of,
long arms, got the length, good at getting in people's way,
yeah,
but offensively, not too big of a threat.
and can just in Dakari, especially like year one, was very just bull in a china shop kind of
Mm-hmm.
guy.
That's what I said.
He
It
was
kind of
just
reminded
so
me of that a little bit.
so big that he doesn't know what to. And granted, it's like they're just a totally different kind of athleticism, but kind of results in the same problem. Or Dakari's a 7 foot, just thick guy knocking everybody
Yeah.
over, getting foul calls. This guy can just jump over the backboard
Mm-hmm.
and as fast as a gazelle, and
He gets in his own
which
way.
you kind of which you kind of saw like Isaiah Jackson having similar trouble as well. Like, I mean, the game had just started. What he got like a charge call because he was taking the ball down the length of the floor and just ran over a Morehead
Mm-hmm.
player because he's twice as fast as that guy.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna have to just rein it in, buddy, because like not many people in the country are gonna be able to keep
Yeah,
up
kind of
with
like
you.
Briscoe.
Yeah,
Briscoe's really, really
just
fast. He could cut to the basket like no other. He just couldn't finish.
Yeah. Yeah. Going up under the basket and no finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Baseline, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember those days very keenly. Um, so if you had to pick, and yeah, I know it's hard to keep track of like who's who and stuff right now, but if you had to pick like who would you say you were the most impressed with for that first outing?
Mm. That is
Which is hard. I
it
mean,
is tough because like I'm still trying to remember which player did what, just
yeah,
because it's like,
and everybody did good.
yeah,
So I mean,
everybody
like you didn't.
played well.
Yeah, you just had a lot of guys kind of show out, and
I guess
uh,
I'll go with the easy one, Olivia Sarr. I mean,
yeah, just
it's
his ability
obvious that
to.
he has a lot of experience, and I think he's going to be a key to this team because of that experience as well.
Um, yeah, it's like we'd said earlier. I mean, you saw him just kind of start out okay, but in a rut, and then turn around in the second half and just turn it on.
Yeah,
And
he
it's like
didn't let it
that's
get to him. That shows experience, you know. Other
settling.
players would have
Yeah,
been like, younger players,
yeah.
man, first half sucked, and then the
Just
second half would have come
get
out
it.
and sucked too. And then, why don't you play
Yeah,
me, coach? Well, I
yeah.
got options.
Right. I mean, yeah, because we're deep, deep, deep.
Yeah, which is
Um,
nice this year because that was also nice seeing Cal when guys would kind of screw up. Bench.
yeah, yeah. He seemed to have a pretty good balance this year because a lot of times you see where he does like the early season like line change kind of stuff. He throws the new guys in, and like one guy just makes like an honest mistake, and he just all right, bye. I didn't like have the feeling he was doing a ton of that because he was leaving guys in for like really long minutes. I didn't really expect. I just felt like he did a really good job of discriminating, like when guys were out there doing stuff and messing up because they blatantly did exactly what he said not to do. Then he was giving them, the leash. But when guys got just a little out of control or threw the ball away or whatever, like
Yeah,
he was just kind of letting them play through it, and it's kind of nice.
very.
Um,
I was tickled to death with that. I mean, it was definitely a
yeah,
swaggy Cal on the sideline. Like I was
yeah.
half expecting him to see him on Sports Center, kick back with his feet up on the desk with a cigar in his mouth, going, "How do you like me now?" You
I mean,
know.
yeah. I mean, you could tell. I mean, especially toward the end of the half, into the game, and you'd see him over there just kind of clapping to himself, like, okay, we all know the stuff that he said the other day before the game about, oh, we had our worst practice in years, like, oh my gosh, we might start 0-6. Thought he probably just realized I've not reined in the anticipation a little bit yet, so I need to go ahead and say something.
Yeah.
you know, get these guys from getting a big head before the first game, like, oh yeah, we're bad. Sorry, we're not as good as I've been blatantly letting on for months.
Yeah, you can tell he's happy with this team. I mean, it's
Liar.
been pretty obvious. I mean, you can just see by the lack of
Yeah,
stress on his face.
yeah. You can tell he's less like just stressed about we've got to get some of this little stuff figured out, and I don't know how quickly we can do that. You can tell he's more just focused on okay, let's just kind of piece some of this stuff together and just let you guys go.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I really hope that Morehead game was a good indication of just some consistency we're going to have. Hopefully, we get a nice little gauntlet. We were supposed to play tonight here in a couple hours or so against Detroit Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
That got canceled because of COVID stuff. So we're going to be probably rescheduling that for December.
Probably.
So Sunday we get to play Richmond,
Mm-hmm.
which I think should be interesting. Kind of a bummer because, like we'd said several episodes back, they probably would have been like a lower ranked team this year. Like starting the year, they were supposed to be pretty good. Like one of their best two players got hurt, so
Yeah.
and that dropped them down pretty considerably because that guy was pretty
We still got
good.
to watch out. I
But
mean, San Francisco upset
but
Virginia today.
yes, they did.
Um,
Yes, they did.
Western Kentucky just about toppled West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean,
So, uh,
here's my thought: if we have to reschedule, like even if Detroit Mercy just can't schedule it or whatever else, man, I'd love to just get Western Kentucky on the phone, just say, hey, come to Rupp, just
yep,
come on.
we need a
We'll
good
figure the
game.
rest out later. Just get in here. This will be fun. Two in-state schools that are both good. Like, let's just have at
Yep,
it.
let's have a good
Get
time here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, the Richmond game. Even though they're down like one of their best players, they're still a good
Yes.
team. Like this is a if we if we show up and we feel just really confident and we try to sleepwalk through it, like they'll beat us.
Yeah, and
So
we've seen it in the past. We've
Yeah,
seen us play bad against a team that we should have killed, and the next game
yeah.
we blow a team out that we should have had a close game with, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden get beat by Evansville.
I was gonna say like last year, we I don't remember what the score margin was for the Michigan State game, but basically handled them the whole
Yeah.
game, and it was like, oh my gosh, like Tyrese Maxey is awesome. We are so good, man. Like what can? And then next game, Evansville comes in like one of the worst upsets ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the kind of stuff. But I don't know. Knock on wood, but I got a sense of maturity from this group, even if there are the young pieces. We do have more like veteran pieces that are
Yes.
actually really skilled, so they can probably rein them in.
Yeah,
Start with the
that's
big
what I like about
guys.
having Sarr there is he's a guy
Yeah,
that's going to be getting quality minutes,
yeah,
and he's got experience. Where in the past, that veteran guy has been one of the guys that come off the bench and just kind of fill in minutes. Like, he
and I
kind of
mean,
keeps the team bound together in practice and in the locker room, but
yeah,
they need somebody that's going to be getting starting minutes on the floor to be that leader, and he's that guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're kind of older, mature, kind of mentor figure with a bunch of younger pieces around him, is going to be a starter like that is going to pay dividends. That and the fact you've got Mintz that I mean, he's coming off the bench and everything, but he's going to get a lot of minutes because
Mm-hmm.
he can shoot. Like he can either play on the wing, he can play point guard if he needs to. He's going to be like the sixth or seventh guy coming off the bench, and well, depending. I mean, that's the thing. As impressive as they looked, one of our projected starters for the year didn't even play. So, they're people have said Keon Brooks could have a PJ Washington kind of year. Well, if that's the case, I mean, what else could you want? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, one, two, three guys could be having a bad night, and whatever. Like we've got six or seven other guys that can play. So, yeah, like I said, I think that was a pretty good indication of just our talent, kind of maturity level this early in the game. Yeah, these over the next several days, like we're gonna run a short little gauntlet of, you know, a good and a really good team. We'll really see what this group's made of. See if they have the fortitude to show up against Richmond, and not kind of try to sleepwalk, not be too comfortable because they came out and showed out so well in the first game.
Yeah.
And then we get Kansas on Tuesday. I don't know. Did you get to watch any of their game against Gonzaga?
I did not, but I heard they pretty much got handled.
Yeah, I watched uh, most of the first half of that game, and they looked. I would say Kansas looked pretty good. Gonzaga looked awesome. Like, I mean, they just looked like a very. I mean, they've got like maybe one big time like blue chip freshman. The rest are just these really experienced, really just good fundamental guys. And I mean, just really smart players. They were letting Kansas just kind of make young player mistakes and totally exploiting it.
Which we've seen this in
Um,
the past. A veteran
yeah,
squad looks amazing
yeah,
until about a month or two before the tournament, and
right.
then you start seeing them. People are like, oh well, we're seeing some chips in the armor. It's like, no, it's you're seeing the younger teams coming together
Are
that may
and they're
have more
figuring
talent,
it out.
and they get out talented
Yeah,
at that point, where the
right.
talent differential didn't matter early on because they didn't play well together.
Know what they were doing. Yeah, I mean, they're still trying to build the ship before they fly it.
Yeah, I got a feeling if we get a tournament this year and they have to play Kansas again, it may be a completely different game.
Yeah, it was interesting because typically, like when I turn a Gonzaga game on at the start of the year, I mean, they look good, but they don't, they try all the national media guys that are just big Gonzaga guys, like fawn over them, like, look how great they are. Look at their fundamentals. Look at all this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, they're good, but like if they played Duke or Kentucky or something right now, like whatever, we'd probably beat them, even though we don't really know what we're doing yet.
Yeah,
And they're going to play like nobody until March, and then oh my gosh, the talented teams figured out how to play together.
it's always amazing when
But
it comes to Zaga. It's like, oh, they're the
yeah,
top ranked 2 seed in the country, and then second round they're beat.
it just and like the looking at their roster and the guys that were making the plays and stuff, you had like a couple of, like I said, like freshmen that were actually pretty good, and just these other dudes around them that were just good role players, and like four or five guys that scored like 20 plus points. And more so than usual. I'm not going to say they're like world beaters and that they're just the team to beat this year, because I'm sure like the way, especially when a team like that kind of starts out ranked number one, number two,
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden like they could easily get Virginia tomorrow.
Very easily.
So I'd have to see another game or two of theirs against like decent, at least decent competition before I'd really say otherwise. But I was just really impressed to see like how well they played together and everything. They just seemed to really know what they were doing, and even for a Gonzaga team. But Kansas will be no slouch. I mean, we're going to be a lot bigger, a lot longer than them. So,
That's caused us problems in the past, though, when we get big and long, and the other teams are
yeah,
quick and short.
super, yeah, very just small and slithering around everywhere, just making big breaks and everything. But at least most of our guys are, even guys like Isaiah Jackson and stuff. They're big, but they're also really fast. So,
Yeah, that's true. We do have some speed, so.
but seeing that and like seeing kind of just like how big Kansas is, three guards, four kind of undersized forwards. It's like, okay, well, we're going to get to see very quickly how we play against just really young, talented guys that kind of play that way. See if we're able to handle that, stay ahead of them, and play good guard defense, even though our guards are so huge. But yeah, I mean, everything optimistic for me on the basketball side as long as we keep playing. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got as far as all that kind of stuff goes. You got anything else you're wanting to add, or?
Not really. I said rifle team undefeated, but I think they're on their break.
Yeah,
So nothing new there as far as I know.
yeah,
And the girls' team looked good, minus
yeah.
their two starters. I will say that. I did watch that game. I haven't watched one of their games in a while, but I was curious to see how they would perform without Mitchell. And
Yeah,
I thought the girls played good.
it's looking like it's going to be a big year for them. I'm excited across the board for that. I mean, it's just across the board. It looks like it's going to be a really solid basketball year.
Yeah,
So
the one girl there, I mean, she was tiny, but she can shoot lights out.
yeah,
Good at
oh
picking the
yeah,
ball, too.
yeah,
So I'm still trying to
absolutely.
learn names. So anybody want to pick on me for that, go ahead. But
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing that much better, you need to find something else to do with your time, because there's a lot to figure out this year as far
yeah,
as just
yeah,
different players and stuff across the board. It's a lot, a whole lot of new faces, but
that is for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, we should have more coverage and stuff. I mean, probably getting more episodes. I would say with the basketball coming
yeah,
around and more games, as long as COVID doesn't interfere. But
yeah. We'll just kind of have to roll with that, see how that goes. Yeah, like you said, should have more kind of steady content and everything. Stuff like that with basketball in full swing, and how we're just going to have like game, 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 game. Um, yeah, hopefully. And if not, we'll be just like reviewing random stuff and
yeah, yeah, we might have some
have
surprise little alternate playlists to delve into.
yeah,
That might be kind of fun. So
we'll
got some ideas.
keep that in our back pocket just in case.
Yep.
But yeah, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Hit the comment section if you have anything to add, football, basketball, or otherwise. Um, yeah, hopefully we'll see how we do against Florida, see how we do against Richmond, and whether we do our next episode before or after the Kansas game, we'll either preview or review all that. Just kind of see where we are on the basketball front. Be sure to like and share the video. Yeah. And until next time, thanks again for watching. We'll see you.